Hi, my name's Gianna, and for my teaching project, I wrote a little story about the vertebral column. So first, in the kingdom of the spine, there's a vertebral column and allowed the body to stand tall. The vertebral column had 5 different groups of warriors, each with their own role to play. And these warriors helped to make sure that the kingdom remained stable, strong, and flexible. So looking at the vertebral column, the first 3 parts of it, they're all 3 different kinds of vertebrae. And even though they look slightly different and they have different functions, they have similar parts to them, which you need to know. First, they have the body of the vertebrae, which is this large part right here. They have 2 pedicles. And to remember pedicle, I kind of think of the word pedestal, and I think pedestal as a stepping stone. And this kind of looks like a little stepping stone or like a bridge to the 2 sides of the vertebrae right here. And then you have lamina, which are these 2 parts right here. You have 2 transverse processes, and then you have a spinous process. And if you were to take your hand and put it on your back and go up and down, you would feel each spinous process of the vertebrae lined up, and that's the thing that's sticking out that you can feel. So at the very top of the kingdom lived the cervical 7. They exist right here. They were 7 small warriors who were responsible for keeping the kingdom's head held up. They often moved so fast that they could give their enemies whiplash. Whiplash is when there's too quick of a movement of the cervical 7, and it causes the vertebrae to fracture, and this could lead to nerve damage and or torn tendons and ligaments. And the cervical 7 also help people to look up at the sky, down at the grass, and left and right all around the land. And the 7 were led by the warrior Atlas and his right-hand man Axis, and it's these 2 little guys right here on top of each other, and they exist C1 and C2, so at the very top. And Atlas, his name can be remembered since he was, or his name and his function can be remembered since he was named after a Greek god. And this Greek god was given the punishment to hold up the whole world for the rest of eternity. So in the kingdom of the spine, Atlas's whole job is to hold up the head, and the head is basically the kingdom's whole world, since the head holds the brain, and without the brain, nothing in the body or the kingdom would function. And the cervical 7 can be spotted by the 2 holes in their armor, which exist right here and right here. And another way that you can remember the cervical 7 is by remembering that the cervical 7 eat breakfast at 7 a.m. So, yeah. And then beneath the cervical 7 exists the thoracic 12. And the thoracic 12 are in the middle of the back right here. And they were 12 very strong warriors, and they were the backbone of the kingdom. They were also slightly larger than the cervical 7. And the thoracic 12 made sure that the people of the kingdom could breathe deeply, but if they didn't do their job, they often caused people to have scoliosis. And scoliosis is the curvature of the spine due to the ribs not being oriented in the correct way. And this is because the ribs actually connect to the thoracic 12. They also help protect parts of the heart and the lungs. And these 12 can be spotted by their long and pointed giraffe-like armor. So if you look right here, the spinous process of the thoracic 12 sort of look like the nose of a giraffe, and the 2 transverse processes kind of look like their ears. And the best way to remember the thoracic 12 is that remembering that the 12 warriors eat lunch at 12 p.m. So yeah. Then beneath the thoracic 12, which right here would be the lumbar 5, and they exist in the most southern region of the kingdom. And there were 5 very powerful leaders who were responsible for providing the kingdom with stability. The 5 carried the whole weight of the kingdom, and they were the largest and strongest warriors. And they can be spotted by their rounded and moose-like armor. So if you look right here, their spinous process, since it's more rounded, it looks more like the nose of the moose. And then because their transverse processes are larger, it looks like the horns of the moose. One way to remember the lumbar 5 is remembering that they eat dinner at 5 p.m. Also, when I think of the word lumbar, I think of woods and I think of trees. And I know that trees are very large and they're very sturdy and they're very stable. and they can withstand a lot of different environments. Just like the lumbar vertebrae, they're very large, they're very sturdy, and they have to withstand the whole weight of the body. So then, moving on from all the vertebrae, below the lumbar 5 exists the sacrum, which is right here. And the sacrum is a warrior who's fused together, but and is one unbreakable being. And the sacrum is the foundation of the kingdom and allows every member of the kingdom to be able to sit down after long journeys. It also makes up the back wall of the pelvis. So you could think of it like helping the neighboring kingdom of the pelvis exist. And the way I remember the sacrum is by remembering the S in sacrum and the S in sitting, since sacrums help you sit. And then there are a few main parts of the sacrum that we have to know. And these parts are the sacral canal, which is right here, the posterior sacral foramina, which is these holes right here, the anterior sacral foramina, which are these holes right here, and then the median sacral crest, which is this right here. So first, to remember the sacral canal, I think of canal and cave. I find those two words similar. And this is because the sacral canal, it pretty much holds all the vertebrae and the nerves that go through the whole spine, and it holds it at the very end, just like a cave would hold anything else, things like bats, things like that, of that sort. And then for the posterior and anterior sacral foramina, I'm just able to remember that foramina means holes, and then posterior means the back, and anterior means the front. So this has to mean the holes in the front and the back of the sacrum. And then for the median sacral crest, which is this right here, I know that median means middle. So first you would have to look at the middle of the sacrum. And then when I think of crest, I think of like the crest of a mountain or like the ridges of a mountain. And if you look at this, you could see tiny little ridges on the crest. So then I know that the median sacral crest means the ridges in the middle of the sacrum. And then finally, moving on to the very bottom of the vertebral, the kingdom, is the coccyx. And the coccyx is a tiny but essential warrior within the kingdom. And although it's small, it's responsible for being an attachment point for a lot of different tendons and muscles. And this also helps you be able to sit. And to remember the coccyx, I think of the word cocktail. So first, the beginning of the word, it sounds like coccyx, and then tail, I think as like your tailbone, because your coccyx is pretty much your tailbone. And then you could also remember the coccyx by connecting the C in coccyx and the C in the word conclusion, since the coccyx is the conclusion or the end of the vertebral column. So yeah, that's my little story about the vertebral column, and I hope it helps you remember it.